evening. I'm Jesse Ventura sitting in for Larry tonight. Let's get to it. Joining us, Rod Blagojevich, former Illinois governor, until he was fired last week, a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice. Congressman Ron Paul, Republican of Texas and former presidential candidate. Stephanie Miller, talk radio host, her website, stephaniemiller.com. And Andrea Tataruz, Republican strategist and columnist, New York Daily News. Big news today. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens is retiring. Who should Obama pick to replace him? Stephanie?
Well, I'm going to say the most liberal person in the world. I'm going to say Janine Garofalo, Shakira, possibly. Can Fidel Castro? Is that constitutionally possible?
I don't think so.
Michael Moore. Like that. You know, Andrea, the thing is, honestly, I hope that the president doesn't choose his centrist bipartisan path on this that he normally does, Governor, because this is a very liberal justice. And in my opinion, the Supreme Court is already listing very far to the right with the Citizens United decision. I call them SCROTUS, the very far-right justices on the Supreme Court. And so he needs to pick a liberal. There doesn't need to be any reason to reach out to the other side on this one.
Okay. Andrea.
Well, you can sleep soundly tonight, Stephanie, because I have absolute faith that the president will stick to his liberal values and pick a liberal. I mean, look, you're saying that the court leans right. Sotomayor is pretty liberal. I mean,
No, she's not.
Yes, she is. And
Very
you know
moderate in her
But
rulings.
here's how I stand on this. That's okay. Obama's the president. He was elected, unfortunately, and he's allowed to pick whoever he wants. I think it's a wash, basically, because Stevens was very liberal. He's going to pick a liberal. Do I think that there still needs to be a very rigorous interrogation of whoever he nominates? Absolutely. We have important issues. We need to find out how they stand. Would they repeal the health care bill? Do they think it's constitutional or not? I mean, we should be asking them all those questions.
And you know, every legal scholar thinks the health care bill is constitutional.
No, and Stephanie, I really hope that Republican senators don't make the wife of the nominee cry like the Democratic senators did to Alito's wife. We'll be a little bit nicer.
That's the main thing we're for, is making wives cry,
Okay.
Governor, as
Thank
you
you,
know.
ladies. Governor Blagojevich, your opinion on this?
Well, Jesse, before Donald Trump fired me, I would have probably suggested Donald Trump as a way to stay on that show. But since I'm no longer on there, I think President Obama should probably pick someone who philosophically would be along the lines of Justice Stevens. I think he needs to maintain that balance on the Supreme Court. Whatever woman or man he chooses, my guess is he'll probably go in that kind of direction.
Representative Paul, your opinion?
Well, I think he should recommend and we should nominate somebody who will bring the people together, and that's not a moderate. What brings people together is the Constitution, the principles of liberty, so therefore you need a libertarian. You know, a libertarian brings the conservatives together on economic liberals, and a good libertarian will bring the progressives over, and there'll be personal liberties, and anytime there's secret prisons and assassinations and torture, they would be able to come down on the right side of that. So if you really want to bring somebody in, to look at Jonathan Turley and Judge Andrew Napolitano. I mean, they'd be very good Supreme Court justices.
I like that one. Someone who's fair. I didn't hear anyone say the word fair. Isn't that the most important thing, that they will follow the letter of the law? I believe Napolitano will do that.
You know, Congressman Paul, you were all good with me right up until you got to the Fox News personality. Then I lost you. But everything else you said, I think, was true.
Now, George W. Bush picked two conservatives, of course, Robert and Alito. So can we really expect Obama to go liberal, or do you believe to beef up that side of the court after George Bush picked two definite conservatives?
Yeah.
Representative Paul.
Well, once again, I think Obama will pick liberals for various reasons, and I do think the mushy middle doesn't really help that much. That's why I stick to my guns, that somebody who believes in the Constitution and believes in personal liberty will be the kind of person we need. It used to be that way, you know. There used to be, the document is libertarian, and we used to have libertarian presidents a long time ago. So, but I think he'll pick some very liberal one, and there'll probably be a big fight over it. And you know, maybe the libertarians will luck out. Every once in a while, a good liberal good progressive, they don't do too bad on personal liberties, and they'd be okay on tortures. But they're terrible on the real important issue of personal property and contracts and economic liberty. I don't understand why there's a good defense of personal liberty like progressives do, and lifestyle and all this, but all of a sudden the lifestyle of spending your own money the way you want, oh no, that's off the books. That's why the libertarian is very appealing, especially to the young people and people who think about personal liberty. And they say, yes, liberty is one unit. It's economic liberty, it's personal liberty, and in foreign policy, it's mind our own business. That brings people together.
Rod, you're looking for a new gig. If the country needs you, are you willing to put the robes on?
I think first I need to be vindicated. I think that's only fair to the American people before that happens. But, I would like to say that, Congressman Paul raises an interesting point. If you look at American politics today, and maybe this appointment to the Supreme Court can be a microcosm of the sort of new politics and maybe the new thinking that we need in this country. And to be able to have a fusion of somebody who might be progressive on some issues, if you want to put labels on things, but then maybe conservative on others, but there's a core belief in freedom and liberties and some of the principles that our country were founded on, and shake it up a little bit on the Supreme Court. My fear, however, is this is in so many ways a very political appointment, in that the different interest groups that run and control the two different political parties, it's a litmus test for presidents to stick to that a wing of their party that is essentially the base of the party. And my guess is President Obama will probably do that as opposed to doing something different along the lines of what Congressman Paul is suggesting.
Well, I'm a libertarian. Maybe you should nominate me.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and I like your idea of Governor Blagojevich. I think that since he's been on Survivor, Judge Joe or Judge Judy has to exonerate him before he can run. I'm not sure of the TV rules there. But, I think Congressman Paul raises a good point that, he says the president should be able to appoint Governor a liberal justice. But, Representative Paul, I'm interested because you just won the straw poll, right, in terms of presidential candidates for conservatives, and yet this party has already said they're going to obstruct. They're going to filibuster whoever the president nominates. How do you feel about that?
Well, we don't know exactly what they'll do, but, if I were there and they were going to appoint somebody that was exactly opposite of a libertarian, to me that would be the opposite of the Constitution, I would object, and I would argue against it. I don't particularly enjoy filibusters because I don't think it changes the outcome. But no, I think that's their obligation. I don't think they should roll over and the president nominate somebody and the Senate consents. I think that's the role. I don't know why anybody should get upset about, debating and voting for it and using the rules of the Senate. That just doesn't disturb me too much. But I know that's the big issue. Is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be a filibuster? Well, of course there's going to be objection unless you elect a libertarian, and that would please everybody.
And I point out that Obama filibustered as well. So, to talk about, Stephanie, were you okay with Barack Obama when he was opposing Bush's nomination?
Bart Stupek's sudden retirement. Did the Tea Party do him in? That's next. We got to go to break. Stay with us.